ever feel like your phone is listening to your thoughts? You only just thought about something, and suddenly you see an ad for that exact product in your feed. Coincidence? Or is something bigger going on? Forget everything you've seen in sci-fi movies about big, clunky, mind-reading machines. The truth is, technology capable of analysing, interpreting, and even predicting your thoughts and intentions is already here. It's built into our gadgets, our social media, and the stores we visit. And today, we're going to break down 20 real, working ways that technology is reading your mind right now. Promise you, after watching this video, you'll look at your smartphone and smart speaker differently. Do you think this is a breakthrough for humanity or the first step towards total control? Let's figure it out together. And make sure you stick around till the very end, because the last method is the most subtle and perhaps the most powerful of all. The idea of peering into the human mind has captivated scientists and writers for centuries, but for a long time it remained the domain of science fiction. The first real steps were taken in the 20th century with the invention of the electroencephalograph, or EEG, which allowed us to see the electrical storm inside the skull. This was like trying to understand a play just by listening to the general buzz of the audience. We saw overall activity, but we couldn't decipher specific thoughts. Then came more precise methods, like functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, which showed exactly which parts of the brain were active at any given moment. But these were massive, expensive machines, confined only to laboratories. The true revolution happened very recently, thanks to two key factors: sensor miniaturization and the sheer power of artificial intelligence. Sensors became small and cheap enough to embed into everyday devices, and neural networks learned to find those incredibly subtle patterns within massive data streams, patterns that betray our intentions, emotions, and desires. And just like that, mind-reading technology leaped from the labs right into our daily lives, often without us even realizing it. Let's start with a technology that has already made the jump from science fiction to reality. We're talking about helmets and headbands using EEG, or electroencephalography, technology. Picture a simple swimming cap covered in tiny metal disc electrodes. Crucially, these electrodes don't send any signals into your brain. They simply listen passively. Whenever your neurons communicate with each other, they create tiny electrical impulses. When millions of neurons fire simultaneously, they generate an electric field strong enough to be picked up on the surface of the scalp. These are brain waves. The technology itself is far from new. It's almost a century old. However, decoding this data used to require an experienced neurologist and a significant amount of time. Today, artificial intelligence has changed the game. Modern consumer devices like headsets from companies such as Emotive or Neurosky use machine learning algorithms to interpret these waves in real time. They cannot read your specific memory of yesterday. That remains firmly in the realm of myth, but they can determine your general state with striking accuracy, whether you are focused or relaxed, stressed or joyful. For example, in some advanced games, you can control a character or cast a spell simply by concentrating. The system detects the characteristic pattern of alpha and beta waves corresponding to concentration, and the action is performed. Or picture a meditation headband that gives you feedback using nature sounds. The deeper you relax, the calmer the soundscape becomes. This goes beyond mere gadgets. Similar technology is currently being tested to control prosthetics, wheelchairs, and even for typing by people with paralysis. So the next time you spot someone wearing a futuristic hoop on their head, remember, they might not just be listening to music. They could be composing a message or controlling a drone purely with the power of their mind. If an EEG is like listening to the general buzz of a stadium crowd, then functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, is like pointing a microphone at one specific section of the stands. This technology allows us to look much deeper and more precisely into the brain. Unlike a standard MRI, which creates a static image of the brain structure, fMRI tracks changes in blood flow. The logic is simple. When an area of the brain is actively working, it demands more oxygen. This oxygen is delivered via the bloodstream. The fMRI machine captures these microscopic changes in blood oxygen saturation levels and, in real time, highlights the active zones on a 3D map of the brain. This is already a serious tool for mind reading. For example, in 2011, scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, conducted an astonishing experiment. They showed subjects movie trailers while simultaneously scanning their brains using fMRI. They then fed this data into a computer algorithm. After training, the neural network was able to analyze only the subject's brain activity and reconstruct a crude, blurry, yet perfectly recognizable image of what the person was seeing at that moment. Essentially, they pulled the picture right out of their heads. Of course, for now, this requires a giant, noisy, and incredibly expensive machine where the subject must lie absolutely still. You certainly won't find one of these down at the mall, but it is precisely this kind of laboratory data that is training the neural networks that will eventually operate in simpler, more accessible devices. fMRI studies help us understand which parts of the brain are responsible for decision-making, lying, fear, or love. And this knowledge is already being actively used today in something called neuromarketing, where researchers analyze the brain's reaction to advertising, product packaging, or website design, aiming to make them maximally appealing to our subconscious mind. Now let's dive into a technology you encounter every single day, often completely unaware of its presence. We're talking about eye tracking. Your eyes aren't just windows to the soul. They are direct gateways into your cognitive processes. Where you look, how long your gaze lingers, and the sequence in which your attention shifts from one object to the next reveals far more about your intentions than you realize. Modern eye tracking relies on miniature infrared cameras, often discreetly built into the screen of your smartphone, laptop, or incorporated into specialized eyewear. These cameras project an invisible beam of near-infrared light onto your cornea. By monitoring the reflection of this light, they can determine the exact direction of your gaze with micron-level precision. Why is this necessary? Well, the applications are virtually limitless. In marketing, eye tracking is a genuine goldmine. Companies use this data to generate heat maps of websites, ads, and even supermarket shelves. They can instantly see which design elements grab your attention first and which ones are completely ignored. They know, for example, that you look at the headline, then the image, and then the price. Based on this data, they strategically rearrange button placement, packaging colours, and even store layouts to subtly nudge you toward a purchase. For instance, if research reveals that the user's natural gaze rests on the left side of the screen, that's exactly where the crucial Buy Now button will be placed. But the utility doesn't end there. Eye tracking is also vital in diagnosing conditions like autism or ADHD by identifying specific, characteristic eye movement patterns. In automobiles, the system monitors the driver to ensure they haven't become distracted or, critically, aren't falling asleep at the wheel. And in virtual reality, this technology enables incredible graphical realism through a technique called foveated rendering. It saves enormous computational resources by only rendering the precise area you are looking at in maximum quality. So, the next time you're just looking at a shop display or browsing a website, remember this. There is a high probability that someone is meticulously analysing the trajectory of your gaze to understand exactly what's on your mind. Moving on from the eyes, let's look at the face. As Dr. House famously said, everybody lies, but our faces often tell the complete truth. This is the technology of facial emotion recognition. The field was pioneered by psychologist Paul Ekman, who demonstrated that basic emotions, joy, anger, surprise, fear, disgust, and sadness, are displayed through micro-expressions that are universal across all cultures. These are involuntary contractions of facial muscles that last mere fractions of a second, While you might be able to force a smile, a slight twitch at the corner of your mouth, or a barely perceptible eyebrow lift will betray your true reaction. Previously, only highly trained specialists could spot them. Today, artificial intelligence does the job. Your phone or laptop camera captures your face, and a neural network analyzes the position of dozens of key data points: the corners of your eyes and lips, the sides of your nose, and your eyebrows. The algorithm then compares the relationship between these points against a massive database of emotion-tagged faces and delivers its verdict. Surprise! 90%. Hidden irritation, 40%. Where is this technology used? Everywhere. Recruiters utilize it during video interviews to gauge your sincerity and reaction to tough questions. Marketers analyze focus groups' responses to a new product or commercial. Airport security systems try to flag suspicious behavior and nervousness. Even educational platforms can monitor whether a student is bored during an online lesson and adapt the material accordingly. There's a common myth that these systems can definitively tell if a person is lying. That's not quite accurate. The system registers stress and the mismatch between what is said and what is shown, but it does not detect the lie itself. Nevertheless, having this information provides a huge advantage to those who possess it. And here's the most interesting part. We train these very systems every single day when we use the masks and filters on social media that rely on reading our faces to function. It's not what you say, but how you say it. That age-old adage perfectly encapsulates the technology we're talking about today. Voice sentiment analysis. When we speak, we deliver far more than just words. Tone, pitch, pace, pauses, and inflection. These paralinguistic cues carry a massive amount of information about our emotional state, and now machines have learned how to decipher them. Here's how it works. The moment you call a bank's contact center or interact with a voice assistant, your voice is digitized. From there, artificial intelligence takes charge. Crucially, the AI ignores the literal meaning of your words that's handled separately. Instead, its mission is to dissect the audio into hundreds of parameters, looking at frequency characteristics, amplitude, the speed of phoneme pronunciation, and the length of pauses. The system then compares this unique acoustic profile against models trained on millions of hours of human speech, meticulously tagged by emotion. Ultimately, this allows the technology to determine, in real time, whether you are speaking calmly, enthusiastically, tiredly, sadly, or, crucially, angrily. Major companies are already deploying this technology across their call centers. If the algorithm detects a customer is reaching a critical level of frustration or anger, the system can immediately intervene, either by routing the call to a more experienced agent or by automatically offering a special concession or bonus to de-escalate the situation. Some companies even use this internally to assess employee performance, measuring how friendly and confident their agents sound when speaking to customers. The technology also has powerful applications in medicine, aiding in the diagnosis of conditions like depression or Parkinson's disease, both of which affect the vocal apparatus. And, naturally, it's utilized in security. Analyzing voice patterns during interrogations can flag moments when a person is under severe stress or potential deception. So the next time you feel the urge to yell at an automated attendant, remember this. The machine isn't just listening to your words, it's actively sensing your rage, and it might very well be logging that observation directly into your permanent customer profile. Let's talk about a tool you use dozens, if not hundreds of times a day, your smartphone keyboard. We're talking about predictive text systems like Google's Gboard or SwiftKey. On the surface, their job seems simple. Anticipate the next word you want to type to save you time. But how exactly do they pull this off? It's essentially mind reading powered by sophisticated probabilistic analysis. At the core is a highly complex language model, trained on trillions of sentences harvested from the internet, books, and chat logs. It knows that after you type good, the next word is highly likely to be morning, afternoon, or night, but that's just level 1. The second and far more fascinating level is personalization. The keyboard analyzes everything you've ever typed, your messenger chats, emails, notes, and search queries. It studies your unique communication style, your favorite phrases, your friends' names, and the jargon you use. It literally creates your personal linguistic fingerprint. That's why when you start typing, "let's meet at the," it suggests the name of your favorite coffee shop, not just a random address. It knows how you talk to your mother versus how you address your boss. In essence, it builds a working model of your thought processes and speech patterns. This is incredibly convenient, but there is a major downside. All this intimate data about your plans, relationships, problems, and interests is being stored and analysed. Officially, this data is used only to improve the service. Unofficially, it is a goldmine for targeted advertising. If you frequently type about home renovations, don't be surprised to see ads for hardware stores. If your messages contain words related to an illness, you might start seeing advertisements for specific medications. Ultimately, your keyboard, your most intimate tool for expressing thought, is transforming into one of the most powerful data sources available to corporations who want to know everything about you. The search bar, whether it's Google, Yandex, or any other engine, is arguably the most honest and revealing conversation a modern person has with anyone. We entrust the search engine with things we wouldn't dare ask friends, doctors, or even our partners. Our deepest fears, hopes, disease symptoms, financial worries, and secret interests all eventually turn into search queries. And every single query is a tiny puzzle piece that contributes to a detailed psychological profile. Search giants naturally don't miss this opportunity. They analyse not just your current queries, but your entire search history spanning many years. They track how your interests have shifted, what challenges have concerned you, and which life stages you've navigated. For instance, a sequence of searches like pregnancy symptoms, best strollers, and how to get a baby to sleep speaks unequivocally about a recent or upcoming addition to the family. Queries about writing a resume and job openings clearly signal a job hunt. This analysis goes far beyond simple ad targeting. Algorithms can accurately predict your income level, political views, marital status, and even your sexual orientation, even if you've never explicitly stated it. They often know about your potential health issues before you even decide to consult a doctor. Collectively, this data enables companies to craft not just advertising campaigns, but entire strategies of influence. For example, during an election, based on your political search history, you might be shown specifically curated news stories designed either to reinforce your existing opinions or conversely to sow seeds of doubt. The search engine has evolved from a simple information tool into a powerful instrument for studying and predicting human behaviour. It is, in effect, a digital psychoanalyst that never, ever forgets. If search engines are our digital diaries, then social media platforms are the stage where we perform our social roles, and every move we make on that stage is carefully monitored. Likes, shares, comments, subscriptions, the time spent viewing specific content. These are not just actions, they are powerful signals that reveal a great deal about our personality. Back in 2013, researchers from Cambridge University published a study that caused quite a stir. They demonstrated that an algorithm, analysing nothing more than your Facebook likes, could determine your gender with 93% accuracy, your sexual orientation with 88% accuracy, and your political preferences with 85% accuracy. Furthermore, it could accurately predict whether you use drugs or if your parents were divorced. And that was over a decade ago. Since then, algorithms have become incomparably more sophisticated. They analyse not just what you like, but also what you pause to look at, even if you don't click a button. They analyse the semantics of your comments, the speed at which you type a response, and even the specific emojis you use. Based on this data, a highly detailed psychographic profile is created for you, using the Big Five model: extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience. This profile is then used for micro-targeting. This means that two different individuals, even if they have similar demographics, will be shown completely different advertisements for the exact same product. An extrovert might see an advertisement featuring a party, while an introvert is shown a cozy evening with a book. An anxious individual will see an emphasis on safety and reliability, while someone open to new experiences will be targeted with innovation and uniqueness. In this way, social networks don't just show you ads, they speak to you in the language of your subconscious desires and fears, which they have calculated entirely from your digital footprint. Let's shift our focus from the digital world to the physical one. Smartwatches and fitness trackers, which many of us wear constantly, have become an essential part of modern life. They count our steps, measure our heart rate, and track our sleep quality. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. These seemingly harmless gadgets collect a massive amount of data about your physiological state, data that is directly linked to your psychological well-being. Your heart rate is more than just a number. Its variability, the microscopic changes in the intervals between heartbeats, can reveal a huge amount about your stress levels. When you are calm, this variability is high. When you are stressed or anxious, it drops significantly. Algorithms are constantly analysing this metric. If the system detects that your stress level has been spiking for several hours, it might prompt you to take a moment for a breathing exercise. Your sleep quality is another critical marker. The device tracks your REM and deep sleep cycles, as well as the number of times you wake up. Sleep disturbances are often an early sign of impending depression or heightened anxiety. Some advanced models also measure blood oxygen levels and skin temperature. Taken together, all this data allows artificial intelligence to paint a detailed picture of your overall well-being. This can be incredibly useful for your health, providing early warnings about potential issues. But who else has access to this data? Insurance companies, for example, are highly interested in this information. Imagine if the cost of your health insurance depended on whether you move enough or get adequate sleep. Employers might want to track their employees' stress levels to optimize productivity. Thus, data about your physical body transforms into data about your thoughts and emotions, becoming a valuable commodity that can be analyzed and monetized. Okay, Google, Alexa, Siri, smart speakers and the voice assistants on our phones are now an inseparable part of our daily lives. They are incredibly convenient. They play music, set timers, and answer our questions. But in order for them to work, they require constant access to the microphone. Officially, the device only activates and begins recording once it hears the wake word. However, in order to hear that word, the microphone must always be active, continuously analysing ambient sound. And this is where numerous privacy questions arise. Companies assure us that recording and sending data to their servers only happens post-activation. But numerous scandals and investigations have shown that accidental triggers are not uncommon. Fragments of private conversations, business meetings, or family arguments can be inadvertently recorded and sent off for analysis. What's more concerning is that these recordings are often listened to not just by machines, but by actual people. Company employees tasked with improving speech recognition quality. They hear your commands, but along with them, they hear all the surrounding background noise, a crying child, a running TV, and snippets of private conversation. Even if we dismiss the theory of continuous eavesdropping, our direct requests to the assistants are a treasure trove of information. We ask about things that worry us, dictate shopping lists, or ask it to play music based on our current mood. Algorithms analyze not only the content of these requests, but also, as we've mentioned, the tone of your voice, detecting your emotional state. This information is used for personalizing services and, naturally, for targeted advertising. If you frequently ask to play sad music, the system might conclude that you are feeling depressed. If competitor brands are frequently mentioned in your background conversations, the system might start showing you targeted ads for that competitor. Thus, the smart speaker transforms from a simple helper into the ears of a corporation, right inside your own home. There is an entire industry dedicated to what we might call mind reading on an industrial scale. It's called neuromarketing. This is a specialized field that sits at the intersection of marketing, psychology, and neuroscience, studying precisely how a consumer's brain responds to advertising stimuli. Instead of simply asking consumers if they liked an ad or a piece of packaging, because people often don't say what they truly think, or they aren't even consciously aware of their own reactions, neuromarketers look directly into the brain. To do this, they employ a comprehensive arsenal of technologies. In a lab setting, this might involve the familiar EEG, which monitors engagement levels and immediate emotional response. There is also eye tracking, which reveals exactly which elements of an advertisement the consumer is paying attention to. They also utilize galvanic skin response technology. Sensors placed on the fingertips detect the slightest changes in perspiration, which are a reliable physiological indicator of emotional arousal. All this data is collected while the participant is watching an advertisement, browsing a website, or even walking through a virtual store replica. Then, artificial intelligence analyzes these gigabytes of physiological data and delivers a definitive verdict. For instance, viewer attention sharply drops at the 10-second mark of the video. Red packaging generates a stronger emotional response than blue. Or, the purchase button is located in a blind spot, and most people miss it entirely. Based on these actionable insights, companies redesign their campaigns, overhaul their products, and modify their websites to maximally influence our subconscious minds, effectively bypassing critical thinking. Many well-known brands, from car manufacturers to global fast food chains, actively employ the services of neuromarketing agencies. So, the next time an ad seems particularly intrusive, or hooks you in a strangely effective way, it might not just be the result of a creative team's talent. It's quite possibly the product of cold, hard calculation, founded on the analysis of brainwaves from hundreds of people just like you. We've discussed indirect methods, but now let's focus on the direct connection between the brain and the computer. This technology is known as BCI, or the brain-computer interface. This is the pinnacle of mind-reading technology, allowing users to control external devices directly, bypassing muscular action entirely. There are two main types of BCI. First, the non-invasive interfaces, which we've touched upon, are essentially the same EEG headsets that read signals from the scalp surface. They are relatively safe and easy to use, but their accuracy often leaves much to be desired. Then there are invasive BCIs. These require tiny electrodes to be surgically implanted directly into the brain, reading signals right from the neurons themselves. This provides unprecedented, fantastic accuracy. The most famous example is Elon Musk's Neuralink project. Their coin-sized chip, implanted directly into the cerebral cortex, allows them to monitor the activity of thousands of neurons simultaneously. The company recently demonstrated how their first human patient, a young man paralyzed from the neck down, could play chess on a computer and navigate social media using only his thoughts. He simply visualizes moving his hand to guide the cursor, and the chip reads the corresponding neural activity, translating that intention into a command for the computer. This is a monumental breakthrough that promises to restore mobility and communication to people suffering from severe injuries. But the potential of this technology is vast. In the future, these interfaces could allow us to download information directly into our brains, communicate telepathically over the internet, or control highly complex machinery. However, the ethical questions surrounding this technology are sharper than ever. If a chip can read signals from the brain, could it one day also write information to it? Who will control access to our innermost thoughts? This is no longer merely an issue of privacy. It is a fundamental question of personal sovereignty. We will be forced to find the answers to these challenges in the very near future. Let's look again at another seemingly simple action. Typing on a keyboard, this time specifically on a computer. Do you think the only thing that matters is the text you wrote? Think again. Modern systems aren't analysing what you type, but how you type it. This process is known as keystroke dynamics, or typing pattern analysis. Every single person has a unique typing style, almost as distinct as a fingerprint. It's built from dozens of parameters: your typing speed and rhythm, the force with which you strike the keys, the duration you hold each key down, the pauses between keystrokes, and even your typical mistakes and the speed at which you correct them. Specialized programs, often running in the background on websites or within corporate networks, continuously collect this biometric information. Why? The first and most obvious application is security. Some banks and online services use keystroke dynamics as an additional layer of authentication. Even if an attacker steals your password, they cannot replicate your specific typing rhythm exactly, and the system will flag the suspicious login. But the analysis goes deeper. Your typing style changes drastically based on your emotional state. When you are angry or excited, you will likely type faster and with greater force. When you are tired, your speed drops and your mistake count rises. Algorithms can track these subtle shifts. For instance, an online testing system might suspect a student is searching the internet for answers if their typing rhythm suddenly changes from confident and steady to hesitant and erratic. Employers can analyze keystroke dynamics to spot signs of employee burnout, or conversely, periods of peak productivity. This data can even be used to determine your level of confidence when filling out an application or a resume. Thus, even a simple mechanical action like hitting the keys is transformed into a continuous flow of data about your psychological and emotional state. Your smartphone knows exactly where you were last night, where you work, which grocery store you frequent, and the route you take to get home. All of this information is collected through geolocation data gathered by GPS, Wi-Fi, and cellular towers. Analysing this data doesn't just track your movements, it enables providers to predict your future actions and intentions with high accuracy. Machine learning algorithms analyse your daily routes and construct a model of your typical behaviour. They know your entire routine: home, work, the gym, and back home. Any deviation from this established pattern is instantly flagged and analysed. For example, if you usually head straight home from work but suddenly divert to a jewellery store for 30 minutes, the system might immediately assume an upcoming holiday, a birthday or anniversary. Sure enough, soon after, you'll start seeing targeted ads for restaurants and gift ideas. Regular visits to a medical centre can signal a health concern. Stopping at a car dealership suggests the intent to purchase a vehicle. This data is valuable far beyond simple advertising. City services can leverage it to optimize traffic flows, and retailers use it to select prime locations for new stores. But there is a darker side. Location data can expose deeply personal information. Visiting a specific church or mosque reveals your faith. A trip to a clinic signals potential health issues, and attendance at a political rally exposes your views. When combined with other data sets, this information allows for the creation of incredibly precise profiles that can ultimately be used for manipulation or discrimination. Your route from point A to point B is no longer just a line on a map. It is the story of your life, your habits and your intentions, a narrative constantly being read and analysed by machines. Every time you swipe your card at the supermarket, you leave behind a digital footprint. Your shopping list isn't just a receipt. It's a detailed report on your lifestyle, habits, and even future events. Major retailers like Target or Walmart have been collecting and analysing this data for decades. Their algorithms know more about you than your closest relatives do. The most famous case involves a story told by a Target statistician. An enraged father once stormed into one of their stores and shouted at the manager for sending his high school-aged daughter coupons for baby products and maternity clothes. The manager apologised, but a few days later, he called the father back to offer further apologies. Instead, the father said, "It's me who should apologise. Things were happening in my house that I didn't know about. My daughter is indeed pregnant, due in August. How did the algorithm know before the father? It analysed the girl's purchase history. It turned out that women in early pregnancy start buying very specific items: unscented lotions, cotton balls, and vitamin supplements. The algorithm spotted this pattern across massive data sets and assigned the girl a high pregnancy predictive score. This is just one example. Algorithms can predict divorce if someone starts buying single-serving meals, a move when they purchase boxes and cleaning supplies, or health issues signalled by a sudden switch to dietary products. This information is used to send you highly relevant advertising exactly when you are most vulnerable and ready to make a purchase. Your shopping cart is essentially a crystal ball, allowing corporations to gaze into your future. Today's car isn't just transportation. It's a powerful computer on wheels, packed with dozens of sensors. Crucially, many of these sensors aren't focused outside the car, but inside, directly on the driver. Driver monitoring systems, or DMS, are quickly becoming standard equipment in many new vehicles. How do they function? A small camera is embedded, usually in the steering column or dashboard, constantly observing your face and eyes. It leverages the same technology used in eye tracking and emotion recognition. The algorithm monitors everything: how often you blink, how long your eyes are closed, and where your gaze is directed. If the system notices you've been looking away from the road for too long, or if your eyelids start drooping, it triggers an alert. You might hear a sound or feel a vibration, and often a coffee cup icon appears on the dash, suggesting you take a break. Some systems go even further by analysing your overall driving style: hard acceleration, frequent braking, or weaving within your lane. These actions don't just signal aggressive driving, they can also point to fatigue or even impairment. Your vehicle collects data on how you hold the steering wheel, how often you interact with the infotainment system, and even who you talk to via hands-free calls. All of this information is intended to enhance safety. But just like data from a fitness tracker, this stream of information is incredibly valuable to insurance companies. Smart insurance programs already exist where the cost of your policy depends directly on your driving habits. The safer you drive, the greater your discount. However, this also means that every mistake you make behind the wheel is recorded, and that data could potentially be used against you later. Your car is no longer a silent servant. It has become a strict observer, constantly evaluating your actions and your state of mind. The gaming industry has always been at the forefront of technological progress. Now it's actively exploring technologies often called mind reading, or more accurately, biofeedback, to forge an entirely new kind of gaming experience. This refers to adaptive games that change in real time based purely on the player's emotional state. Imagine a horror title. You put on a headset equipped with EEG and galvanic skin response (GSR) sensors. The game actively monitors your real-time level of fear and stress. The moment you start growing accustomed to the jump scares and begin to relax, the game shifts its tactics. It might dim the sounds, make enemies less visible, and build a quiet, tense atmosphere of anticipation, only to catch you off guard once more. Conversely, if the algorithm detects you're on the verge of a panic attack, it might temporarily lower the difficulty just to give you a brief respite. In educational games or simulators, this system can track your concentration level. If it detects your attention is wavering, it might introduce a new, more engaging task, or even prompt you to take a quick break. In multiplayer settings, emotional analysis could be used to match players with similar psychological profiles, or potentially to identify toxic behavior early on. Beyond adaptation, some developers are experimenting with emotion-based controls. To cast a powerful spell, for instance, you wouldn't just press a button. You'd have to achieve a specific level of focused concentration, which is then verified by the EEG sensor. This creates unbelievable levels of immersion and makes the gameplay truly personal. You are no longer simply playing the game. The game is now playing you, constantly adapting to the deepest reactions and emotions that you may not even consciously realize. As education and work shifted online, a major challenge emerged. How do we ensure the integrity of remote exams and assessments? The solution has been proctoring systems, software that essentially turns your personal computer into a digital warden. These systems use a complex suite of technologies to analyze test taker behavior. First and foremost, they gain access to your webcam and microphone. Artificial intelligence constantly analyzes the video feed, using facial recognition to confirm that you are the person registered for the test. The AI tracks your gaze. If you frequently look away from the screen, the system flags this as suspicious behavior. Furthermore, the algorithm scans for other people entering the frame or the presence of prohibited items, such as a cell phone. Secondly, the system actively analyzes ambient sounds in the room. Foreign voices or even a whisper can be interpreted as an attempt to receive unauthorized assistance. Thirdly, the software monitors everything happening on your computer. It prevents you from opening new browser tabs, launching third-party applications, and even using specific keyboard shortcuts. Some advanced proctoring systems even utilize typing pattern analysis. If your typing style suddenly shifts, it may signal that someone else has taken over the keyboard. Following the exam, the system generates a comprehensive report for the instructor, detailing all suspicious events, complete with timestamped video evidence. While this undeniably helps combat cheating, it simultaneously creates immense psychological discomfort and raises serious privacy concerns. The system is observing you constantly within your private space, analysing your every movement and sound, essentially trying to read your mind and anticipate dishonest intentions. The concept of a smart home promises ultimate comfort and effortless automation. Imagine lights flicking on the moment you enter a room, thermostats maintaining the perfect temperature, and your coffee brewer readying your morning cup just as you wake up. But for a house to be truly smart, it must first learn you. And it does this by relentlessly collecting data on your most intimate daily habits. Smart speakers listen to every command. Smart bulbs track exactly when you go to bed and when you wake up. Your smart fridge monitors the food you consume. Your smart TV knows your exact preferences in movies and shows. Even motion sensors track your physical path throughout the house. All of this information streams into a single ecosystem, where it is analysed by artificial intelligence. The AI constructs a hyper-detailed model of your daily schedule. It knows you wake up at 7 a.m. on weekdays, but sleep in until 10 on weekends. It knows you prefer warm, dim lighting in the evening. Based on this model, the system doesn't just automate devices, it predicts your needs. If you habitually turn on the kettle at 8 a.m., the smart outlet can now anticipate this and boil the water for you. However, this trove of data about your most intimate domestic routines can be used for far more than convenience. It can be sold directly to marketing firms. If your smart lock registers that you frequently return home late at night, you might start seeing ads for premium meal delivery services. If sensors indicate you haven't used the vacuum cleaner in a while, prepare for targeted ads promoting cleaning services. In a far more concerning scenario, information detailing exactly when your house is empty can fall into the hands of criminals or intruders. Your home, which is supposed to be your sanctuary, is effectively turning into a spy, documenting your every move and commodifying your private life. And finally, the most inconspicuous, yet arguably the most powerful current method of mind reading stems from your interaction with generative AI and chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude, and their equivalents. When you communicate with this type of AI, you're not just getting answers, you are, in effect, laying bare your entire thought process. The AI analyzes not only the substance of your queries, but also how you phrase them. What specific vocabulary do you use? How complex is your sentence structure? Are you posing open-ended or closed questions? Are you seeking creative input or strictly factual data? Are you polite to the bot, or do you communicate in a demanding tone? All this data contributes to the creation of your unique cognitive profile. The algorithm can gauge your education level, vocabulary breadth, and even subtle personality traits. For instance, individuals scoring high in neuroticism might use more negatively charged language, while highly conscientious users tend to formulate clearer, more structured requests. You might engage the chatbot as a therapist, sharing your personal problems, as a career counselor, discussing your professional ambitions, or as a creative partner, generating ideas. This entire history of dialogue is saved and rigorously analysed. It grants the companies behind these technologies an unprecedentedly deep insight into your entire persona. This goes far beyond analysing simple likes or isolated search queries. This is a dynamic analysis of your actual cognitive process. This information can be leveraged to create hyper-personalised products for ultra-precise ad targeting or to train even more sophisticated AI models. By chatting with the machine, we are essentially volunteering ourselves for the most comprehensive psychological assessment in history, often without even realising the extent of the test. So we've covered 20 different technologies, and the overall picture that emerges is quite astonishing. It turns out that mind reading isn't a single technology, but an entire ecosystem that surrounds us from all sides. This ranges from direct neural interfaces that read signals straight from our brains, to subtle algorithms that analyse our gaze, voice, purchases, and even the unique way we tap our keyboards. But here is the central, and perhaps shocking realisation. The most effective tool for mind reading is one we create ourselves. It is our digital footprint. We voluntarily surrender vast amounts of personal data in exchange for mere convenience and entertainment. Artificial intelligence simply collects these scattered fragments, a like here, a search query there, a commute route, a store receipt, and pieces them together into an incredibly accurate and detailed portrait of our personality, our deepest desires, and even our future path. The line between a helpful assistant and an all-seeing overseer is growing thinner every day. The crucial question facing us today is this: how do we harness the incredible capabilities of these technologies without sacrificing our fundamental right to privacy and freedom of thought? Thank you for sticking with this video until the very end. If this discussion has given you pause for thought, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future explorations at the intersection of technology and society. Now I want to turn the question to you. Which of these 20 technologies surprised, frightened, or perhaps excited you the most? And are you willing to sacrifice a portion of your privacy for the sake of greater convenience and security? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm genuinely looking forward to reading your perspective.